Good morning, everyone, and welcome. This is Joe Scarice, co-founder and co-host of the Creative Burr Strategy House and podcast, here every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's get ourselves set up. We're going to have a great discussion of education, networking, and strategy. So we're actually the only podcast here legitimately on Clubhouse. We have a podcast, we have events, we have educational worksheets and educational events for our followers. So I'm pretty excited about going into the new year and what we're providing in a consistent manner for real estate professionals nationwide. So we'll get started here in just a few minutes. We'll invite some peeps in, get started here. But first, I'd like to always thank our sponsors and get rocking with that. And we'll talk about our discussion this morning. Briefly, real quick, we'll discuss what our this presentation this morning will be top characteristics of real estate problem solvers going into 2025. What are the top characteristics? We need to really kind of dig into that and break out what that looks like. Okay, so we're going to get started here. I'm going to invite some peeps in here and get started. And well, I did also put a discussion on LinkedIn in regards to this, an article. I put a poll. So take a look for that because I always appreciate when people look at the LinkedIn article that I post prior to this presentation because I want to make sure you get kind of an outline to the discussion at hand. So really excited about what we're going to be discussing today. Really kind of break it down, peel that onion, get started. But first, I want to thank obviously our sponsors, which if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here. First, I want to thank always Mr. Yardell Perkins of Perkatech, our social media architect and designer of the podcast, the video production, social media graphics, website design. We have been going through a complete revamp of social media discussions and really rebranding myself, the podcast, just everything in general. So we're going full throttle into the new year. So, if you have a question about, white label marketing to be a broker or correspondent with Lenmark, or just enhance your social media presence from a branding perspective, set up an appointment with Yordell, great guy to sit down and talk with. We have discussions almost on a daily basis. I'd like to thank MB Capital, where I am a referral partner in the unsecured business line of credit program, providing insight for lines of credit for my real estate professionals to grow, to keep moving forward. Let's have a discussion about that. Let's see how you qualify. Let's get you up to 150,000 on the first round to get you rocking into 2025. I want to thank Lenmark Capital, where I am a senior loan analyst providing nationwide asset-based lending in the DSCR space, fixed to rent, fixed to flip, new construction, multifamily, mixed use, single family through four family, portfolio lending. Let's have a strategy discussion and growing out your real estate going into 2025. I want to thank also Ms. Linda Pelagas of Realty 411, who provides national events and national publication for real estate professionals and services throughout the country. And last but not least, I want to thank Elite Dealmakers, where I'm now affiliated with this organization, providing one discount for Lowe's on purchases, and then also discounts for Sherwin-Williams as well for paints for real estate investors and professionals. We're now rolling out investor group meetings in South Jersey, Philadelphia, Lehigh Valley, and soon North Jersey. So we're really kind of creating a box type of situation where we're covering a lot of trek within 100 miles of each other. I look forward to this alliance and association going into 2025. I obviously met with a lot of different organizations that run events, and I felt most comfortable with Elite Dealmakers. So we're really working it through. You could find our Facebook groups. Right now we have South Jersey, Philadelphia, and Lehigh Valley up and running. Elite Dealmakers. So you could join those Facebook groups. You could follow me on LinkedIn to kind of get updated to those events. We have some great events coming up. We have, let's see here, July 6th, we have Health and Wealth in Real Estate. We're going to be holding it at Restore Wellness. where I have an account. We're going to talk about health and cryo and IV and vitamin shots, little things of that. That's going to be 6:30 to 8:30 on a happy hour. Then January 11th, we have a workshop on asset-based lending. We're starting at 10 a.m. We're going to go till sometime in the lunch hour. We're going to have sponsored breakfast and lunch. We're going to discuss white label marketing, underwriting deals, underwriting and pricing your loans out to better understand, to be a better investor, not just a lender, but also a better investor. So we're going to get that started on January 11th. And then January 13th, we have a state of the market discussion with chief economist Kevin Gillen, who I've been friends with for 10 years, brilliant gentleman, discussing the state of the market of Philadelphia at my offices at New Bold Exchange, where myself, Yardell Perkins, the Sub 2 group movement is all part of this, and elite deal makers. So we have three great events that we're hosting in January, and then we bring on Lehigh Valley in February, second Wednesday of the month. And then we are planning on North Jersey sometime March, April, get that up and running, probably the first Wednesday of the month. We're looking like. So let's break down, some market news, and then we'll get into the discussion at hand. So the rates have been staying very elevated. Inflation, job reports, unemployment reports. The market is not paying attention to Fed Chair Powell and the Fed. I mean, right now rates are hovering over around 7.11 on a 30-year fixed. We're looking at probably about 6.5% to 7% right now on the commercial rates. Still looking very elevated. Again, the rates are not bad. They're actually not bad in the investment standpoint. From the home buying standpoint, they probably do look a little bad. Okay, so it's not looking great for home buying going into the spring market. I do foresee pricing starting to come down on a lot of real estate inventory. Not just a major move yet, but again, keep an eye on the 5-year treasury, keep an eye on the 10-year treasury. You're going to see some impact there on rates, but I'm starting to see rates moving up a little bit or kind of staying still. So that's one thing. You can always check that out on Mortgage News Daily. I'm traditionally posting an article too from there on a week-to-week basis. Another article that caught my eye: 15 major cities where home prices had risen in 2024, where by the end of the year things were getting pretty stagnant. But I like some of these markets. Some of them I'm a little questionable on, but some of them I think they're spot on. Anaheim, California was number one. Number two, Newark, New Jersey, which I'm getting very involved in the Newark market. Was just at a holiday party up there with some great people. New Brunswick, New Jersey, another strong market. Rutgers University presence. Nassau County, New York, just spoke at the Nassau County RIA. Very impressive out there on flipping. Providence, Rhode Island. I am working with several Rhode Islandites. I'm actually going to be presenting to a group of real estate agents on asset-based lending up in the Rhode Island market. So I do like Providence quite a bit. West Palm, Florida, West Palm Beach, Florida was up there, number 6. Number 7, very interesting, Chicago. And number 8, another interesting one, Detroit. 9, San Jose, California. Number 10, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Number 11 coming in is Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I like that Wisconsin market a lot. I'll be going out there in May. 12, Seattle. Number 13, Miami. Number 14, Cleveland. And number 15, Warren, Michigan. So that's some of the top markets in appreciation in 2024. Let's go here. Top cities with strongest housing markets in 2024. I'm seeing. When I saw this, I kind of like shook my head a little bit. Pottsville, Pennsylvania. Pottsville stands out with a 70% increase in home values. No surprise here. Investors are going wild up there. They're buying as much as they can get their hands on. Number 2 is Rockford, Illinois. And number 3, which I kind of get because I see a lot going on in Syracuse and Rochester and Ithaca. Binghamton, New York came in with a combining stability with a steady price growth. So Binghamton also maintains affordability, making it appealing to buyers focused on value and longevity. Now, some other cities were Syracuse, New York, Bay City, Michigan, Auburn, New York, rank high. So very interesting market. I did put that post up as well. That was another article that caught my eye this week. Then another article that really caught my eyes: boomers passing the equity torch to younger generations. Freddie Mac most recent survey of baby boomer housing opinions, preferences, and plans indicates that roughly three-quarters of homeowners born before 1964 are likely to pass a large portion of their 17 trillion in home equity to their offspring. Okay, a couple other articles, parts of this article caught my eye. Many are choosing to age in place, but new trends have surfaced. Aging in place is at 68%. Downsizing is up 66%. Living near children up 68%. And men versus women, only 25% men said they would be open to living with their adult children in the future, compared to 40% of women. So, very interesting article. I will post that up today. I thought that was really interesting. So, we'll dive into our discussion today: top characteristics of real estate professional problem solvers. So, you really need to be the chameleon, okay? You can't hone in on just doing one thing. You got to have diversity. You got to be proactive, not reactive. Um, and some top traits that I see for a real estate professional going into 2025. One is adaptability and innovation. You need to be adaptable. You need to be innovating. You need to like we're going through a social media revamp, Yordell and I, and I'm accepting a lot of this where I typically wouldn't do it before. Okay, so I see that where we need to change. I see where we need to update. I see where we need to use AI. And I think networking and relationship building is always going to be up in the top 10, right? Great top characteristic. We're now holding stable events every month. We would have spotted ones over the past couple of years, but I felt compelled to get more involved in front of people in a consistent manner because I just see a very questionable amount of events that are out there that are non-integrous. I mean, they just have an agenda. I want to be the most agendaless type of event that we could possibly provide in a consistent manner to our real estate professionals and our following. And then an understanding of your local market. Like you should know like your neighborhoods. You should know your communities. You should know what's going on in your market. These are very important factors that separate you from the rest of the real estate professionals, right? I'm always posting articles based on my market, regionally, locally, sometimes nationally. I put out polls to kind of see what the temperature is on a lot of things. Very important there, and attention to detail, and engaging personality, and interest in houses and architecture. Like you need to be more entrenched in, if you're going to be in the investment space, you need to understand what needs to be added to a property, what separates one property from the other. Is it the extra bathroom? Is it the cutting back the smaller bedroom and adding a bigger bedroom? Is it adding square footage to the property? Is it the mechanicals? Okay. You need to understand what will impact the value to your property. You also should be getting inspections on your properties almost every year to know that your property is staying in a very high qualification, right? As well. So these are traits of a good, true real estate professional. And then obviously hustle and tenacity, and then being honest and integrous. No one will ever tell you that I will not ever tell the truth. I will tell you exactly what the news is, good, bad, or indifferent. Okay, so these are traits that you need to carry into next year. You might not like what I have to say, but I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on. Okay, because I believe in my space, there's no bad or good news. It's just news. Okay. So you got to be able to be very comfortable doing thorough due diligence, like a property inspection, a market analysis, financial analysis. You got to get deep into creative financing strategies, understanding private lending, traditional lending, hard money. What are the differences? Does everybody in this room really know the difference between traditional lending, hard money, and asset-based lending? And I'm going to tell you the answer is no. I can tell you that for a fact because I teach these classes and you just see the light bulb go off with a lot of people. They finally understand the difference. And that's why we're putting this class out. And we're going to probably have this class once every 3 to 4 months. So like we're having the January 11th course. I'm probably going to have it in March again or early April because I think it's so important to have this class every 3 to 4 months now. So we're gonna commit to that. We're going to provide that in a consistent manner because there's always new things that are coming up. And then also understanding strategic project property acquisition, understanding distressed properties, off market deals, value add opportunities. Do you really understand what a value add? Oh, I'm just going to put 10 grand into the property and I'm buying it for 150 and suddenly it's going to be worth 300 grand. Logically, that doesn't make sense. Logically, that makes zero sense. You can't put 10 grand into something and buying it at 150 and it's going to be worth 300. Just the numbers just don't make sense. So you got to be realistic and understand your repair numbers and enhancing a value. It's very important. And effective property management. If you're going to grow your portfolio, I know a lot of people like to self-manage, but you really need to work side by side with somebody that you can entrust in the property management side. But don't break away. You need to be part of the tenant screening. You need to be part of the regular maintenance. You need to build those relationships with those tenants to stay long in a longevity type of environment. That makes you money. And then obviously continuous learning and adaptation. I feel that we're going to put out the best educational subjects with a non-selling environment with these events through elite deal makers. So I'm very excited about that. I'm not here to, I know what I do for a living, and I know it's a service. I don't have to sell it, I have to provide it. So there's a difference. So that's my agenda, being in front of individuals to hopefully provide an opportunity of lending. But for the rest of the part, the educational platform for these events will be like this podcast. Okay. They will be providing information to stay informed, seeking coaching or mentorship in some form or fashion, and obviously building relationships with other investors, real estate professionals, and industry experts. Then you got to understand risk management. Like, what is the risk to this property? Do you really understand insurance on the property? Do you really understand the tax impact when renovating a property and what that looks like from a DSCR perspective if you're going to hold the property? And then one more important thing that you really need to get involved with is understanding and getting good with negotiation skills and being clear in your communication. Why are so many realtors are worried about this NAR settlement lawsuit? Because they don't know how to communicate. Okay, communication is probably 90% of the issue with that NAR settlement. Now they actually have to talk to their client about why they deserve a commission. I don't think there's anything wrong with it if you are a professional and you're very transparent and you have great communication skills. I don't see a problem here. I do see a problem with the ones that have poor communication or transparency skills. The ones that are more, I think, concerned about taking pictures in front of fancy cars and places they don't own. I see that as a common trend. And understanding how to build relationships. I'm more concerned about following up and following through on every single piece of communication that I'm out there. So somebody finally got back to me this morning about talking about their portfolio. I said, listen, I have a podcast from 9 to 10. I'm going to go to the gym, but I'm going to call you back. I'm going to call you right after I get back. She's like, great, no problem. It's not matter whether it's a Sunday or Monday. If I have the time, I'm going to provide that time back to you. I'm going to have that time of communication. By implementing strategies, real estate problem solvers can navigate the challenges of the market and identify profitable opportunities and achieve their investment goals in 2025. So we'll go to Mr. Bob Cheswick first. He's now back as a special guest to the Creative Bird Strategies House and Podcast. Bob, good morning and welcome. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our discussion this morning. Top characteristics of a real estate problem solver. Bob? Bob going once. Bob going twice. We can't hear Bob. Bob's going to come in and out. Bob?
Hey, Joe, can you hear me now?
Can hear you now. Loud and clear. What's going on, my friend? And thoughts to top characteristics of real estate problem solvers and a little background on yourself.
Gotcha. So I'm Bob Cheswick. I'm president of Chespin Corporation, doing LLC and corporation formations, and those dreaded BOI reports that have been coming up lately. More about that later. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't give legal advice. And in a previous life, I was a civil engineer. doing transportation infrastructure and site plans. So, as far as my thoughts on being a real estate problem solver, it actually stems back to pretty much my engineering days and pretty much any problem solving you're going to encounter, whether it's as a real estate professional or just in life. And that is, and it sounds like a simple thing, but it's something you have to learn over time, especially if you're relatively new in the real estate business. You have to identify this. And I know this sounds simple, but identify what is the problem. Seriously, what is the problem you're actually trying to solve? First, I'll give you an example from the engineering world, and I'll carry it over into how it affects in real estate. So one of the when I did transportation infrastructure, which is highway design, bridges, stuff like that. A lot of the work we did was, particularly when I worked for the state of Delaware, was because of the booming housing developments that were happening and continue to happen throughout the state of Delaware. And DelDOT, which is the highway department there, was trying to keep up with maintaining access to the main highways because these little two-lane narrow farm roads suddenly were going to be supporting developments with several hundred houses, and then the next farm across the street would build up, and suddenly roads that I remember that were just two-lane country roads that had no shoulders are now four-lane divided highways with medians servicing housing developments and shopping centers. The state really transformed over the past 2 decades into basically a huge ex-urban sprawl serving Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. Not so much Baltimore because the Chesapeake Bay kind of blocks the way there. But the big point being, whenever we would take a look at a project that had to be done, and they're saying, okay, well, the road needs to be widened. Okay, that's great. But what is the actual problem we're solving? Just widening the road haphazardly isn't going to solve the problem. Are these people going in and out of a housing development? Are they using it as a connector to get to the highway down the street? Are they cutting through because traffic is so bad on Route 13 that they're sick of sitting at the lights and they're trying to cut through any small roads they could? We'd actually have to break down and dissect the traffic that was using the road, how they were using the road, and how the new traffic was going to affect that. And it could change the entire context of a project. So, we might be starting with an access point for one or two, thinking, okay, it's just to get people from Route 13 down a half a mile to what used to be Farmer John's property that's now John's sprawling housing development. Well, what about all those cars that were sick of sitting at the half mile backup at the traffic light a half a mile, further down the road, that were cutting down this road to get around the traffic light? Well, all those cars are going to dump on there too. And as soon as you get past the housing development, it's going to narrow back to a country road. Hence, that's where all the head-on crashes are going to. So these are all kinds of things that we had to take into account, figuring out what was the actual problem we were solving, and hopefully not creating new ones. Translate that over to the real estate world. When you're encountering any problem, and I'm going to probably talk more particularly about the physical property itself. If you're having a situation where, for example, you get a tenant that's calling you up and saying, just want to let you know we've got leaking pipes in the basement. Simply going down there and saying, okay, well, I'll replace the pipe. Well, that may or may not solve the problem. Why is the pipe leaking? Where is it leaking? Is there maybe something going wrong? I've seen people do fixes on their houses where they just go in and like, oh, okay, I replaced the pipe. And then the tenant calls them back a week later and they've got the same damn problem. It's because they never identified what the actual problem was. It wasn't the fact that the pipe was leaking. It's the fact that the pipe further down was clogged and putting too much pressure on the seals and the joints. So that's great. You just spent a bunch of money on a project that didn't actually solve the problem. So my advice to anyone trying to become a pro problem solver is figure out what the actual problem is and the root cause of it. Otherwise, you're just going to be throwing money after fixing any project you come across, and it's not going to solve the actual problem until you figure out what it is. So it goes back to my other rule, don't take shortcuts. So with that said, Joe, I toss the mic back to you.
Bob, thank you. And you've been opening up LLCs for real estate professionals for quite a long time. What has been the common denominator to a true professional problem solver, somebody that is proactive, not reactive? Like, who has been that? If he came to mind, somebody that's going to say, okay, boom, 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 boom. What are some of the same relevant characteristics that you've found with the real estate professional that separates them from the ones that are not so professional?
The main difference comes down to one characteristic, and it's usually one that I've been able to figure out, just through over the years observing people when they come in the door for the first, setting up LLCs with me. And that is whether or not, and it sounds crazy, whether or not you're a good listener. Because a lot of people, they go into the real estate world just thinking they're going to make a fast buck because they saw something online. Oh, look at this. You're going to, you're going to make so much money so quickly. They rush in the door thinking all I have to do is follow these, 3 or 4 outline steps with no concept or concern whatsoever for what goes on behind the scenes. They're not willing to learn. They think they figured it all out. And honestly, the main differential is the people that listen and ask the questions and pay attention to the details. And I could probably, with an over 90% success rate, pull a list of my customers who are real estate people over the past 15 years, and just without knowing anything else since I talked to them, say they made it, they didn't, they made it, they didn't, they made it. And I'll probably be right 9 out of 10 times, just because I can remember the interactions I would have with them. And the ones that usually wound up causing the most problems for me as far as the administrative side were the ones that were usually trying to rush through the process and spend as little money as possible. So just rush. Hey, I need them, I need you to lower your price because I need the money to put down the down payment, blah, 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 blah. Or I'm going to go hack it myself. These are the people that usually fall flat, because they're not listening, they're not paying attention, they're just rushing through everything. So that's pretty much what I've seen, is the people that slow down, pay attention, and listen tend to be the ones that win the long term.
Bob, update to the BOI environment. What's going on? Is it on? Is it off? What's the story as of today?
Okay, strap in, folks. This is going to be rough. So I'm going to just give you a quick timeline of how insane my past week was with BOIs. And if any of my customers are in the room, they're very familiar with the emails. And yes, you're going to get another one today. So quick breakdown. Late on the 23rd, last Monday, the Fifth Circuit Court, I guess they're in Louisiana, lifted the ban issued by the federal court in Texas and reinstated the January 1st deadline for the BOIs. Late on the 24th, so we're talking Christmas Eve, after everyone's left to go home for dinner and whatnot, FinCEN changed the due date from the 1st of January to the 13th of January. So on the 26th, I emailed my customers updating them of the new due date. Then late on the 26th, the day after Christmas, but not publicized until late on the 27th, the Fifth Circuit, for lack of a better phrase, flipped it and reversed it, and a different group of judges imposed a new injunction against the argument, against FinCEN. So now that, so it's like, okay, so the Fifth Circuit just contradicted itself in a period of 48 to 72 hours across the Christmas holiday. And now the Treasury Department is fighting to have the injunction lifted before the end of the year, or at the very least before the end of the Biden administration. And for the record, by the way, all this back and forth and the fighting from the government trying to get the FinCEN deadline held on the 1st, that is coming directly from the top. It's coming from the Biden administration, particularly from Biden himself, who wants the law enforced before he leaves office. So why? I'll let you guys fill in the political blanks there. But all this is coming from President Biden directly. So basically, as of right now, what FinCEN has decided to do is they are standing down on the enforcement of the law pending the outcome of this case that brought this whole fiasco up earlier in December in the first place, which is like something like the Top Cop Shop LLC versus Janet Yellen, or whatever the case is in the Eastern District Court of Texas. So as of right now, all due dates are temporarily suspended for the BOIs, but you can still file the BOIs. Depending on how the court case comes out, or however the Biden administration tends to handle it before the administration switch, that stay of the enforcement could be lifted at any day, at any time. So strap in, folks. This story's far from done. And I don't have any advice on whether or not you should file or not. In fact, I'm getting calls from lawyers asking me, what should I tell my clients? And I'm saying, how can anyone even answer the question when it's like a ping pong? It's like watching tennis or ping pong. It's going back and forth so fast we can't even keep up with it. So that's the state of the BOIs. The only state that is in confusion.
Well, thank you, Bob, for the update of confusion in the BOI world. I always appreciate that, and I appreciate your emails updating us of the of that circumstance right now. So, some challenges for real estate professionals that we face going into 2025: extremely fierce competition, fluctuating market conditions, time management and work-life balance, dealing with difficult clients, technology and innovation, staying compliant within regulations or guidelines, managing finances and cash flow, and then emotional burnout. Um, I can relate to a lot of this, dealing with difficult circumstances. Listen, I try to memorialize every difficult circumstance. I had to let a client know of some craziness to his loans this morning, but I detailed it, and he's like, okay, let's have a call at 12 o'clock. Fine. Okay. I wanted to get it. I want to get in front of it. I don't want to, I want to tackle it with him. I don't want to be adversarial, but there's concerns I have with the loan. Okay. And not that he's being difficult, it's just difficult. It's a difficult discussion, right? Then there's time management and work-life balance. I'm not going to take a phone call Saturday night, 8:30 in the evening. Nothing will get accomplished at that time. One, I'm out with family or friends. And two, that same conversation can be carried into Sunday with a clear head after, everything I got to get it done for myself first, health wise, mentally wise, meditation, go to the gym, do the podcast, whatever I need to do to feel great about the morning. I'm going to do that first. And then there's emotional burnout. Like next weekend, I'm going away for the weekend. I've been wanting to go away for the weekend. I want to go away. I want to break it. I want to break apart. I want to do some things that I haven't done in a while that I want to go and try and do and enjoy myself because I feel tired. I feel, hey, I've put a lot of time in this past year. Got to take a little break. Then I go back to technology and innovation. We're going through a complete revamp of my social media platform. We got our Google business profile back up. We're working on on my personal website that went down and is going back up. We're at almost 90 podcasts. We're holding monthly events now. I'm going to be speaking in various markets throughout the country. So I'm looking at what's going on in the market, and now I got to be a little smarter and harder in working, right? And then I got to worry about competition. I always say your competition is the mirror. I think the best competition that you could beat is being completely available, transparent with somebody, returning the phone call, returning the text, getting back to somebody. Hey, I don't have an answer for you, but let me get an answer for you and get back to you within 24 hours. Okay? Communication is going to be the common denominator to beat out your competition. Being available. That separates you from a lot of other people. Linda, good morning and welcome. Brief overview who you are, what you do, thoughts to top characteristics of real estate problem solvers.
Good morning, Joseph. Good morning, Clubhouse investors. I hope everyone's doing great this morning. My name is Linda Pliagas, and I'm an accredited real estate investor. I've been a real estate agent for over 17 years and a landlord for over 20. I also own Realty411.com, which is a news and information website for real estate investors. Now, in my opinion, one of the most important characteristics in a real estate investor is to have tenacity. You have to keep trying. One must keep moving forward despite the setbacks. And let me tell you, you will have offers rejected. If you're an active real estate investor, there's no doubt about it. You're going to get rejected. Your offers are going to get rejected. Other people are going to bid higher than you and higher than you're able to. Now, those things happen, but you have to keep going, keep submitting offers until something pans out. Next, I believe a very important characteristic is for an investor to have self discipline. It's not easy to delay gratification on the things that we want today so that we can actually save our money for the down payment that we're going to need for our next rental property. But folks, unless you use OPM, which stands for other people's money, then you will need to have some discipline to save money for your next real estate endeavor. Another quality that I think is so important is flexibility. You need to be flexible in case your first plan doesn't falls through and doesn't pan out. Let's say your offer didn't get accepted. Well, then maybe you should focus on a different type of asset, or maybe you should start looking in a different market instead. What's your plan B? Always have a plan B. Perhaps instead of buying a 4-unit property, you need to just buy a 2-unit property because that's all you can do right now. Perhaps you need to drive out 20 miles to find your next farm market because your market has appreciated so much. So you need to be flexible and remain flexible so that you can continue with your goal of real estate investing. So those are the tips I have this morning, Joe. Thank you so much for having me, and back to you.
Linda, thank you. And some updates to Realty 411, what's going on in the first quarter? Any changes, any pivots, anything new that we need to be aware of?
Thank you so much for asking, Joseph. Yes, our new publication is out. If you visit realty411.com, you can actually read it, download it, print it out. We make it available for everyone and anyone to be able to download the entire publication. And you don't have to print out every single page. If you want to just print out the articles that interest you, you can do that. It is completely available and free for everyone. And this is our way of giving back to our community, to share our knowledge, our tips, and encourage the next generation of real estate investors.
Great, Linda. I really appreciate the insight and update to Realty 411, and really appreciate you getting up a little early for us. We did change the time on you to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so that is 6 a.m. Eastern Pacific Standard Time out in California. So I do appreciate that. We did make some changes. Obviously, we cut out the Saturday podcast. We're focusing on the Sunday because we're doing more Saturday events. And, there's a cost benefit to everything. Getting stuff done in life is so much more important right now, just staying abreast and available to things. So some other characteristics that you need, qualities and traits that contribute to a successful field of real estate. You need to have problem solving skills. You need to have a good power team to tie into that too as well. Somebody to bounce off of. The entrepreneurial spirit, the ethical standards. You got to be ethical, right? You got to follow certain things. There's a work ethic and a persistence and a passion for real estate too. And you need to be personable and engaging. I have no problem going up and introducing myself to strangers at an event. What's the worst thing that can happen? I'm not in high school anymore. I'm not in grammar school. This is real life adult stuff, right? So I have no problem introducing myself and being detailed oriented approach. Like your emails should just not be one word answers. You need to have detail to memorialize discussions with individuals so people are prepared for those discussions. I'm not a fan of texting a vast amount of information because it's not memorializing items that I need to get across in an email to that professional, right? So I'm not going to be quoting rates over Facebook Messenger. Like if I can't talk to you, we're probably not a good fit. If it's painful to work with you, we're not a good fit. And on having market knowledge, I mean, we try to provide updates to your market, local, regionally, or nationally. I try to post articles to stay abreast of what's going on in the market, right? Breaking down top markets in the country, why, where, how, and then applying networking skills. Practice with some people that you're in confidence with somebody and how to approach and network and following up and following through. Anybody that I meet, I try to make sure I do a follow-up email thanking them for their time, reminding them of who I am and what I do, and how we can potentially work together. And a commitment to learning. Okay, so we're here at the Creative Birth Strategies. We're just not a discussion on Sunday mornings. We are committing to 4 events a month on average in our region and a quarterly educational discussion on white label marketing and lending. We're going to make everybody the better lender, whether they're a real estate agent, whether they're a real estate service, or they're a real estate investor. We're going to break it down. Investing time, energy, and resources into your real estate profession is crucial for your success. Good morning, Paul. Welcome. Brief overview of who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our discussion this morning, whether it's a statement or question. Top characteristics of a real estate problem solver.
Good morning. My name's Paul Merrick, based in the United Kingdom. I've gained a lot of American friends in the real estate business through this very app. Through a couple of years on Clubhouse, I've gained quite a few American friends, and we've had numerous discussions on and offline about what it really takes to be successful in real estate. So, a little background on myself: I started in real estate, as you call it in the US, property as we call it here in the United Kingdom, 3 decades ago. With roughly £40,000 or equivalent to about $30,000. And we now have a multi-million-pound debt-free portfolio of both residential and commercial properties. I've been a developer of both commercial and residential properties and a landlord of both commercial and residential properties. And if anyone asked me this question, and that's why I popped up, Joseph, because I thought it was a really interesting question. What are the characteristics that made us successful in the real estate business? I would say that we realize we're not in the real estate business or in the property business, we're in the people business. Because if you buy a property and you never sell it and you never rent it, you never make any money. So property itself or real estate doesn't actually make money. It's not until a human being, a person buys it from you or rents it from you, you actually make some money. So we're in the people business, and we've built our success on 3 basic principles. And these principles are in this order: people, process, product. Product being the real estate. People, process, property. And I think a lot of people, when they're first getting into real estate, get very obsessed about the real estate. They get very obsessed about the deal. They get very obsessed about the discount. They get very obsessed about the finance. And they forget the most important thing in our business. We're in the people business. And if you remember that you're in the people business as a landlord, as a developer, as a buyer, as a seller, then you have a successful business. And if you put the real estate first, the process second, and the people third, you probably won't be successful. So our recipe for success, if you want to call it that, is people, process, property.
Interesting. I like your perspective, and I appreciate you coming up and giving your insight, Paul, this morning. And this ties into, characteristics of effective problem solvers, right? What separates the natural born problem solver to somebody that kind of just wants to kind of skate by? The difference, I feel like what Paul's saying is they have a can-do attitude, right? They redefine the problem, right? And they have a system to evaluate, to identify, to select, and test and review, right? They take action. They examine the results. They break down problems into parts. They gather information. They consider every position as though it were their own. They avoid the experience trap. They recognize conflict as often as prerequisite to the solution. They listen to their intuition. They invariably go beyond solving the problem. And they seek permanent solutions. They gain commitment from all parties involved. So the circumstance I have today is I have somebody pressing me to close on their loans, but I'm pressing back now saying, listen, you can press me all you want, but here are some concerns I have. And instead of pressing me, answer these questions. Let's get transparent so I can go back and underwrite this file to close your loan. We're going to need to take 2 steps back before we go 4 steps forward. Why are you pushing me so hard? That's my intuition. Like, why am I being pushed so hard where you're not completing with me the answers that I need? So it's extremely important, right? And if somebody reaches out to me, this is another characteristic. I'll reach out to you back and forth 2, 3 times. If I don't hear back after the second time, I'm not going to keep calling. I'm not going to keep emailing. I'll put you in my database, and that's it. We move on. And if you want to reach back out to me when your circumstances arise where it's more important to get back to me or return my call, that is fine. You got to thicken your skin in this business going into 2025. Take it less personal and take it more professional. Take it less personal and take it more professional. These are things that are going to be key for your success, whether you're a service, real estate professional, or a real estate investor. That's going to separate you from any herd, right? I don't get caught up with all the rhetoric, all right? I just want to get to the answer. I'm a bullet point kind of guy. I'm not a big storyteller. I'm more into the bullet points of life. Somebody pointed out to me last night, I am a stroke survivor, and life, I just look at life a lot differently now. If you met me 6 years, 7 years ago, and you met me in the last 5 years, you definitely see a difference, right? There's a calmness, there's a listening component. Okay. There's traits that have just changed. Okay. Just because, number one in my world is breathing. Number 2 is winning. And I want everybody to win. So if I'm breathing and winning for others and myself, then we're doing great. There's a consistency and a continuity. You need to identify those opportunities for yourself. You got to surround yourself with people that you can ask questions in confidence and not be concerned about the answer. Justin, good morning. Thank you for your patience. You got a lot of armor to work with here this morning. Top characteristics of real estate problem solvers and a little background on yourself. What's going on with you?
Yeah, Justin Jefferson. I guess you might as well just say sum it up, real estate professional in Southern Louisiana market currently. Doing some project management and building some homes for some other people right now. Not myself like I want to be, but I'm getting back in the saddle for that. And trying to push through some other things. So I'll just dive into the topic. First of all, I think what Bob was saying regarding, and you were saying regarding knowing your market and knowing your industry and then knowing what to look for. I think that's what Bob was really leaning in with his comments. You absolutely need to be informed on whatever it is that you're going after, right? Sorry, I'm chewing my words. I'm just trying to get the right words. You don't want to be saying, oh, let me flip for a very easy example. Let me flip a house or something like that. And you're going into the property. You're inexperienced with conditions of houses and so on and so forth, and you don't have the expert with you. I just think characteristics of a pro problem solver come with having skills first, and then building on the skills that I already have. I probably said a lot, but let me go from there. You need to have something a skill set that you've already developed, or have access to a skill set that is developed, right? And then apply that to said strategy. and that's how you can push out some better results with whatever it is that you're looking to do. If I'm looking to acquire another property off market, which the majority of my acquisitions have been off market, then there's a strategy to that as well. There's a strategy to identifying the property, right, that has the said potential. There is a strategy to assessing that said property. There's a strategy to putting the team together that can get me through the deals with the numbers and the metrics and the time frame that I need in order for this deal to be successful. So just on a very small scale and a small level, those are some basic ideologies that I think if you follow, right, looking for the skill set when you want to solve a problem, you're not going to break, we have shade tree mechanics and we have actual mechanics. It's been mentioned that folks who tend to want to on their budget on the more important things, the attorney, the contractor, right, the one doing the work, those things will most certainly come back and bite you in your tail, right, in the tail end of the deal. And so just having all your T's crossed and your I's dotted as far as, having the tools in your tool belt to execute on whatever it is, I think is the utmost importance. If you're not starting there, if you're starting guessing, if you're starting hoping that you get through, if you're starting hoping that you have enough money to make it through, or hoping that this guy doesn't do you like the last 5 clients, those are not good places to start. And don't let anxiety panic you. I've made the mistake, right? And it can be quite costly. So just those are my thoughts as far as being prepared to attack a deal and being strategic with finding them and executing on them.
It sounds like what you're saying is having a steely determination. If I ask one of your friends to give me 3 words to describe you, would one of those words be determined, Justin?
I would definitely say so.
Okay.
Maybe I'm a little bit too determined, Joe. Like some of the stuff I probably put myself through, waiting to get to my next deal or my next opportunity. Maybe I go do it differently, but I'm really committed to. I'm probably, like I said, over committed to doing what I want to do because I've developed the skills already. I'm just looking for another opportunity, a reset button, and thank God I know where to find those reset buttons. So,
yeah, it seems like you have to adopt a relentless, stubborn, almost resolving type of environment to make sure that one, you and your clients and your power team win, right? The ability to negotiate, the tech savviness, a winning personality, integrity, the ability to network, arriving early to networking events. Early is on time is late, guys and gals. Be pleasant, be passionate, follow up, attention to details, ability to solve problems, self-motivating. If anybody knows me, I put up a motivating quote every single day, and I read one every single day. I actually read multiple. Dedication to professional appearance. Look good. Look the part. Don't look like a slob. Strong communication skills. Boundless enthusiasm. Yolanda, welcome. Brief overview of who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our discussion this morning. Top characteristics of a real estate problem solver.
Thank you. Greetings, everyone. Thank you, Joseph. Always great to be in your spaces. And I wanted to acknowledge wonderful Linda and Bob. Justin, it sounds like you got that microphone together. So I'm really grateful for you on today, sir. And Paul. Paul and I used to hang out in table topics room for Toastmasters. So it's great to see all these familiar faces. Typically, I just kind of sit down below and listen, but I have had quite the Q3, Q4 as a new newer agent, but I hang around a lot of investors like you guys, and I feel like I have the cheat code sometimes to making things happen. And if you had asked me maybe about a year ago, what is a characteristic of a real estate problem solver, I wouldn't feel like I'd have anything to contribute. However, as soon as you get one client, you become a master. You at least I like to think you become a master of problem solving if you're doing it right. And so, just in the last couple of days, I've got this property. Joseph, you might be hearing more about it from my colleague that I sent your way. But I have this property listed, and it's got all of the things. It needs work and all this stuff. I think it's listed at an appropriate price, and many offers, showings, like 6,000 views on Zillow, all these things. Well, I present this to the seller, and the seller's like, "Oh, I don't know, like cold feet style." And I'm just thinking to myself, I have moved mountains to solve your problem, sir. And yet here we are. And so I went to bed last night a little down in the dumps, just because it's like you do all that you can, and it still requires another human to cooperate. And so, when I think of the characteristic of problem solver, I don't know if it was Justin who said you bring your skills that you've acquired over time. I'm a little bit of a chatty Cathy, somewhat of a networker. I love to meet people and build my network, expand my territory, as they say. And so just before I laid my head down, I got a call, a couple hours before, I got a call from an investor who wanted to see the property, and the numbers he was talking really sounded positive in terms of above asking and all this other stuff. So the point being that I have to remain calm, can't get anxious about deals. I think that was something else Justin said, and recognize that some of this, and I know it's Sunday, so I could take y'all to church for just a minute, but some of this is in the spirit realm. I pray for all of my clients. I pray for the deals. I pray for the offers that before we submit them back. All that I believe goes into this. That's, to me, one of my secret weapons at being a problem solver. So yeah, I'm just grateful that I've grown so much in my business just in these last few months that I can tell you that you are a problem solver. You just need to recognize what problems you solve, and you just walk in that lane that allows you to be that person. And over time, I like to think, for my career at least, people will become aware of that and acknowledge that moving forward. So yeah, I'm in the Metro Detroit market. I'm an agent and a listing agent per se, and just love this room. So thank you, Joe, for the floor.
Well, I appreciate you coming up. You're not usually a typical moderator, so when you raised your hand, I was very excited about that. I always get a little concerned, obviously, with newer moderators, but I want to thank Paul for raising his hand as well. I think it's great. There's a common denominator here. I think we all have a fire in our belly, right? Real estate isn't rocket science. You don't need to be the most business savvy person or a math wizard or a legal genius. Okay. There's nothing to invent or discover. Once you complete a real estate deal, you have the tools to be able to, to kind of move forward. I mean, the great news is we could all benefit by working with one another. Like Yolanda reached out to me via text, I think this morning. I acknowledged it and sent her a follow-up email. What was so hard about doing that? It took me 2 minutes. The cost-benefit relationship of that communication will go farther than anything else, because I want to be consistent and continuous in my mannerism as a real estate professional. I'm going to get some final words from Mr. Bob Cheswick, because he's always a great ad. We have wonderful conversations when I'm on my drive homes from various events, an hour at a time. So, Bob, your final words to the thoughts to this morning, top characteristics of a real estate problem solver.
Okay, just making sure you can hear me because the app was glitching a little.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So basically, the way I can summarize it is this: solve the problems that you know how to solve that are inside your skill set. For the problems you don't know how to solve, bring in a professional that can solve them. And also be mindful of the time that you're spending on things. If there's a task that you can delegate out to someone else, even if you know how to do it, but it's just going to suck up a lot of time for you, don't be afraid to delegate it out, even if you have to pay a few dollars, because that frees up time for you to focus on the bigger projects, the money making projects, or in some cases, just the things you want to do with your life. Not 100% of your time should be spent working either. If you're working 100% of the time, you're doing it wrong. That's been my philosophy, and I speak from my own personal experience growing up, and Lord knows the health issues that it caused along the way sometimes. So don't be afraid to delegate to be a true problem solver. Sometimes you have to know what problems you can't solve and when you need to bring in the extra help, and then you will succeed not just in real estate but in life in general. And with that said, Joe, thank you again for the invitation. Nothing I said was intended as legal advice, and I yield back the mic.
And I also put a disclaimer that Bob is not green in real life. Right, Bob? You're not green in real life, correct?
It depends on the day.
Common denominator here, you have to put the time in to get educated. You have to put the time in. If you don't want to put the time in, you want to gloss over, okay? The idea of going to the gym or going by the gym are two different types of people, all right? You need to be inside looking outside, not outside looking inside, right? That separates the real estate problem solver to somebody that just talks about things or talks about others, all right? We're going to be very consistent with this podcast. We're going to be very consistent with our events. I want to thank our sponsors and our support staff, Mr. Yardo Perkins of Perkatech. I want to thank MB Capital, where I'm a referral partner, providing unsecured business lines of credit for real estate professionals and services. I'd like to thank Lendmark Capital, where I'm a senior loan analyst, providing asset-based lending in the DSCR, fixed to rent, fixed to flip, new construction, multifamily, and mixed-use space. I want to thank Miss Linda Pelagas of Realty 411, providing her insight in a consistent manner here and providing national events and a national publication throughout the country for real estate professionals and services and now online. And I want to thank the new affiliation I have with Elite Dealmakers, where I'm supporting events in Philadelphia, South Jersey, North Jersey to be coming, and Lehigh Valley. We're going to be very much in front of a lot of our real estate professionals. I'm also excited about us providing quarterly now a workshop on asset-based lending, being the better white label marketing broker or correspondent, lending money out, being that professional. Because if you understand how to lend money, you understand how to buy a property. Everybody thinks you got to learn how to buy a property first. You got to learn how to lend the money first on buying a property. So we're gonna teach you and educate everybody that shows up on January 11th, and then we'll do it again in April again, how to understand and underwrite your deals to be the better real estate professional. Whether you're a realtor, whether you're a lender, whether you're a title agent, whether you're an insurance agent, we are going to get it done. We're going to start at 10 and we're going to finish when we finish. Right? I think that's the best way to look at it. I have it scheduled 10 to 12, but I think it'll go to 1 or 2, which I'm excited about. And that's January 11th. Anybody has any questions on that, you need flight discussions or hotel stay, let me know. There's some great places not too far away. You can Uber to the office where we're having the event on January 11th. You fly in on the 10th. And my quote this morning, oh, by the way, we will be having a New Year's Day special discussion on Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. And then we'll be back on Sunday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time next Sunday. So we'll be here on New Year's Day, kind of celebratory podcast. But my quote this morning: no risk, no glory, no failure, no story. Have a great Sunday morning. We'll see you on New Year's Day. Then we'll see you the following Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a blessed Sunday, and I'll be ending the room in the next 30 seconds. And thank you.